Welcome to the Book Dormer. Today we're going to be talking about a book from an author I've not read before, which is Leigh Bardugo. And yes, I see how she spells Lee, but I did look up a few videos on how she pronounces her name, and I will go with whatever somebody wants their name pronounced as. And Lee is what I hear when she says it. So that's what we're going for. This is The Familiar, released on April 9th. It was the big book of really that release cycle. I was looking for it when I went to a store. I'm sure other people were looking for it too. You're starting to see a lot of people reading it very quickly because she's a pretty well known author, already has an audience, which might explain some of the. I don't want to say it's got lukewarm reaction because I think a lot of people are saying it's a 4 star. I think a lot of people are expecting more, like maybe they just in their mind were expecting something a little bit different. Because this book, I would throw this book in as a fantasy, historical fiction with a little bit of romance. I think it's more of that. It's more of and a lot of character pieces, a lot of interesting plot. Like there is subterfuge upon subterfuge in this story. And I like that. I like that people are scheming. They're working away on things, and that kind of makes it for a fun ride. Like 20 pages into this book, I was thinking, oh no, what did I do? 40 pages in, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm ripping into this book now. And I just started ripping through it. And that's a sign of a book that really gets hold of you. And it got hold of me right about 20, 25 pages in. Took for a ride, and yeah, we kept going for it. All right. So this book, setting. Let's talk about the setting because I love. You can't do a historical fan or anything set historical areas without talking about the setting. And this one is set in Inquisition Spain. So they're in Madrid for most of it. Inquisition Spain. And it's set somewhere between 1588, which is when the Spanish Armada was sunk, and 1598, so 11 years later, when Philip II dies. So we know Philip II is the king, and that's kicking off a lot of this, a lot of the pieces that we kind of build to as a crescendo around Philip II. Back, I mentioned Inquisition Spain. One of the things about Inquisition Spain you got to watch for is by that point, I mean, you're talking 1492, they really started kicking off the Inquisition. And then it was somewhere, 1501, somewhere in that range, where they had a second round of the laws to pass for. And that's really where they kicked it into gear. They went after, the Islamic, they went after anyone who had Jewish blood, booted a lot of them out already by that point. But then they went after the safe havens. And a lot of the Jewish population were converted to Christianity, whether or not they kept any of their traditions or anything alive. Well, that kind of kept the Inquisition going because that was the rumors were, well, you say you're a Christian, you come and take mass, but you're really a Jew. And so they kept going for this. Like talking, that's at the least 80, 87, 88 years later. I mean, these are people's grandparents you're talking about, and they're still trying to hunt it down. And so you still could be doing everything right, and yet the Inquisition comes to find you. Well, in this story, our main character is not going to be doing everything right. In fact, she's very of a human character. So Lucia Catado, Lucia Luzia, Luzia is what I'm going with. She is a scullion. A scullion in medieval kitchens is like a kitchen helper. As a friend who is very familiar with the origin of the name said, yeah, those are the people who live downstairs in the British TV shows and then go up to serve the other people up high. And Lucia has she's got a bad life. She is a scullion for an unhappy family. We'll get to them. She is sleeping on the floor in the muck. Like she doesn't have her own bedroom. She doesn't have anything like this. She is definitely not enjoying life. She wants more. She tries to get more, and nothing's going to happen. I mean, maybe she can manage to find herself a husband someday, and that might be like the epitome of what she's going to get. Also, there's a couple things we need to know about Lucia. One, she is the descendant of a conversa, probably from Portugal. So it sounds like there were a lot of people who were trying to hide where they're from and like, yeah, okay, we were Jewish in Portugal, or well, the family was 100 plus years ago. And now we're not, we're good Catholics. We go take mass, we do the whole thing, except for the parts where she has all the secret wards, which have power here. We're going to talk about that. Other things a little bit different in this world. There are miracles in this world, and miracles are are the exclusive domain of the church, according to the church and the people and the torture police. Essentially, is what you should call them. So yeah, to the Inquisition, that's like if you're doing it and you're not part of the church, this is a bad thing, right? That's putting a target on you. Let's go to the employer. So we have Donna Valentina, and she is in a loveless marriage. She is unhappy in life. She takes it out on her staff. Yes, she has a staff. She got two people. She got a cook and she has Lucia. She can't afford like a proper handmaid, and so she makes her scullion do that job too. So you got all these pieces, but Donna Valentina, she is definitely unhappy in life. She is mean. She takes it out on the staff. She bullies just because she's, I don't know, she wants to be something more than she is. All right, so let's go after some plot for a while and then we can run with this. So Lucia has a little skill set. She can do tiny miracles. She sings a tune in these foreign words that her aunt Julita taught her. I told you I was going to butcher names. I didn't lie. Go with it. All right, so she's doing these words. She can sing. Or she does them by singing a tune in her head. Actually, she was doing it out loud, but she's always got this little tune in these foreign words. And she can do minor miracles. One day she comes back from the market, which is supposed to be the cook's job, but there's some plot armor on why the cook can't do it. So Lucia does it. Lucia comes back, finds a thing of burned bread. So one of the two, I don't remember if there's a cook or if it was Lucia, who burnt the bread, but she fixes it using one of her little miracles. The problem is Donna Valentina had already seen the burnt bread, and she comes back and she sees it, and she's like, who's gaslighting me? Like, she gets mean because she thinks she's being made fun of, and the cook's like, idiot here. But that doesn't say it, because that's what she should have said. Doesn't say it. But Donna Valentina, she starts thinking, hey, maybe there is something else going on here. Maybe this wasn't a joke. And so she lays little traps to see if miracles are being done in her house. Because Donna Valentina, she wouldn't be taking anyone with Jewish blood in her house. Apparently that's below Donna Valentina. And even though she's not actually doing so great herself, but she still has, right? That's often how people are. If they have a station at one point, they are looking down on the next person because it I don't know, makes them feel better about themselves or whatever reason. I mean, people hurt and they do cruel things at times. Well, Donna Valentina, once she figures out that her scullion can do minor miracles, goes, how can I use this? And the way she's going to use it is she's going to raise her status in Madrid. And she's going to raise her status by having dinner parties with people that she wants to impress. And she wants them to then invite her to parties, of course. Right? It's kind of a quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. Wow, I should really learn how to say words. Anyways, she's doing one of those things. And she's trying to get to, so she has these dinner parties and she forces Lucia to perform miracles there. Like, oh, you broke a glass and whoomp, glass back, or you make a little thing grow. Whatever it is that she's doing, she's making her do these. And word's getting out that there's a miracle here. And of course, if you're the patron of somebody who can do miracles, so long as it's not going to get you inquisitioned, pretty good. Right? That'll raise your status. And so she's getting her status raised. And then Lucia does it in front of the wrong person at one of these parties. Word kind of gets back. Her aunt Julita, who is kind of acts as her like older guide character, if you want to call her that, the Obi-Wan of this book, she kind of pulls her in and says, hey, you need to stop doing these things. Probably knowing full well that Lucia actually is rather ambitious. Lucia wants to get out of her station. She wants a better station in life, and she's going to try to use her magic to do that. And she's going to try to play the game. She thinks she's smart. She's good at keeping her mouth shut, so a lot of people think she's a dummy. But instead, she's going to go ahead and use her knowledge and use her capabilities to try to get ahead. Which leads to something interesting. I got a book in today from Barnes and Noble, or no, from BAM, Books a Million. Got a book in on pre-order, and they sent a book page. So I was looking through the book page, and there was an article on this book, and they said Lucia's unlikable. The heck? This girl's sympathetic off the chart. All right, she's got a little drive to her. She's got a little mouth on her when she gets going. Everyone around her is horrible. Why would you not have a mouth? Why would you not think these thoughts? I'm like, I'm really wondering what's going on there. It's like a little bit of a hit piece on Lucia, and I'm here to say no. I don't think that's fair. I think Lucia actually isn't that bad a person, but she got a little drive. She wants to get some. If she can get like a better patron, maybe one that'll give her a bed. That seems like a fair choice for somebody who can do miracles, right? And so, kind of moves on as so she went over to Aunt Halita. Yeah, I'm gonna change every time. Halit, and her patron's there. So the aunt has somebody who pays for her as kind of a boyfriend, girlfriend type thing. Victor de Paredes, and he is laying a trap. So the aunt has actually set her up to be tested by her patron and the patron's familiar. The familiar is kind of, I mean, it's almost like the classic fantasy familiar, except it's just a person who's tied to him. So magical servant of some sort. I think that might be a fair way to call it. Somehow a tied to or bound servant. And so you're going to go in, they're going to do these tests, and she does, and they kind of tick her off to get her to do some bigger tests, and she does it, and everyone's impressed. Victor thinks, haha, I am going to gain personal gain in this because Victor is quite rich. Victor has fantastic luck, super amazing luck. Everyone knows this family has great luck. And he thinks he's going to use this to raise his own personal status. All right. Meanwhile, so he becomes the patron of Lucia. And he's gonna try. He even tries to get her out of the house. But Donna Valentina at this point is like, whoa, 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 this is my claim to fame. This is my rocket. And so now her husband, Lucia, are on this skyrocket with Victor de Paredes, who's going to take Lucia and train her, or have Santangel. I cannot pronounce his name. Santangel? I'm going to go with Santangel, which is the familiar. Going to have the familiar Santangel train her up, teach her how to do the miracles so she can win this competition. The competition is with a famous real world person. This is Antonio Perez, who is a real world character and comes across, well, okay, not well loved in this story, I think would be the right way. Antonio Perez had a falling out with the king, and he wants to get back in the king's good graces. And so one of his thoughts is, if I can find a miracle worker, perhaps this miracle worker can do something to help change the king's fortune and raise up. Because after that whole losing your entire fleet thing, apparently he's a little upset. And the king and Perez had fallen out. Perez, again, real person, born in 1540, died in 1611. So he outlives Philip by, oh gosh, 13 years. Spoiler, yeah, he gets away. And in real world, he does. So Antonio Perez has this contest. He's going to have 4 miracle workers come, and they're going to compete with each other. And whichever one or ones that he likes, he's going to take on as kind of, I don't know, what do you want to call them? Miracle servants to take to the king to try to get back his good grace with the king. Whew. So maybe Lucia can do something like build him a fleet. That would probably get Antonio Perez back if he could have a fleet builder show up and do it. Of course, several of these people are just bad people in general. Like, you follow everyone else in there, and they are just, some of these people are just unredeemable. Others who came across early as just bad actually turn out to have fairly decent redemption arcs. So the story, again, I ripped through it. I think it's a solid 4-star. I don't know if I'd go much above 4-star, just my style and what I look for in a story. Well, probably a solid 4 is still very good, and I think this is a solid 4. I'm a little confused about some of the ratings that I've seen and some of the reviews. I wonder if people either thought like they thought too highly and just thought this was going to be like rocket right out of the stadium and they were going to love it, or that it's that Leigh has herself a pretty good audience and they were already expecting something. I suspect that might be more of it. If you're already used to one type of book and one level of plot, bringing in a historical fantasy that is not what the others have. I mean, that you might see how that might confuse some people, and maybe they didn't give it a fair shot, or maybe it's just something I just clicked with me. But to me, it's a 4 star. I mean, I'm kind of thinking on like, let's say I was reading, got a book, next series in the Expanse. It looks like the Expanse. The cover looks like the Expanse, and it's a turns into more of a Becky Chambers style as opposed to the Expanse style. Yeah, it's a different take on things, and I could see maybe if you were like you were hoping for one thing and you got another, maybe that's not your cuppa, as they like to say. Anyways, I thought it was solid. I'm throwing 4 stars on it, and I think it's well worth the read. Even a pretty book. I mean, I don't know. I'm a sucker for those sprayed edges. I don't know why, especially when it's like it's just classy looking, all black like that. Nothing fancy about the edition. It's just the standard U.S. hardback edition. They just made ones with, the manufacturers are starting to realize, or the book companies are starting to realize, people buy them more if you make it look a little bit nicer. There we go. All right. Hey, thanks for coming along, putting up with my shenanigans, and I'll see you next time.